Democrats have finally shown their true colors, and it is absolutely sickening. We have the clip of Senator John Thune exposing the one quote that proves they are literally laughing while American families suffer through this shutdown. Let's watch it all the way through, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Mr. President, quote, "Every day gets better for us," end quote. So said the Democrat leader in an interview published on Thursday, hours before Democrats once again voted to keep the government closed and to deny service members a paycheck. Federal workers, including law enforcement officers, missed part of their pay last Friday. But hey, at least life is getting better for Senate Democrats. Mr. President, a CNN article from Thursday said that Democrats are preparing to keep on with this shutdown for, and I quote, several more weeks. I guess Democrats are not going to be satisfied until military families and government workers are lining up at food banks or visiting payday lenders or simply charging necessary items like milk and bread on their credit cards to be repaid later if they can, along with the big interest charges that come with that. But hey, while military families and government workers may be deeply stressed, at least life is getting better every day for Senate Democrats. Mr. President, I could at least understand a little bit more where Democrats are coming from if Republicans were asking them to swallow a lot of new Republican policies to reopen the government. But Republicans aren't asking Democrats for anything. We're not asking them to support any new Republican policies. We're not asking them to swallow any partisan policy riders. We have put forward, and the House has passed, a clean, nonpartisan CR. That's the bill Democrats are rejecting. And by the way, you certainly don't have to take my word for it that we put forward a clean bill. Here's what one mainstream news publication said last week, and I quote, "It's important to note that Democrats instigated this shutdown. They rejected a clean funding proposal and demanded significant and expensive health care policy changes in exchange for their votes," end quote. It's important to note that Democrats instigated this shutdown. They rejected a clean funding proposal and demanded significant and expensive health care policy changes in exchange for their votes, end quote. Yeah, that pretty much captures it right there in a nutshell, Mr. President. Now, Democrats like to whine that Republicans aren't negotiating, but negotiation, Mr. President, is what you do when each side has a list of demands and you need to meet in the middle. Republicans, as I and a lot of other people have pointed out, haven't put forward any demands. Only Democrats have made demands. And by the way, very expensive demands. And they've taken government funding hostage in an attempt to force through their partisan measures. Mr. President, I remember when Democrats used to care about the effects of a government shutdown. In fact, I could fill a whole speech, many speeches actually, with quotes from Democrats talking about how terrible shutdowns are. I used to think they were sincere in those opinions, but it's become abundantly clear that their previous statements weren't based on principle, but on political advantage. Democrats were against shutdowns when it suited their political purposes, and now that it suits their political purposes, they think, to keep the government closed, now they support shutdowns. I suspect their political calculations are flawed, because after all, 65% of voters think Democrats should reopen the government instead of holding out for their partisan demands. But I guess, Mr. President, Democrats are more worried about gaining the approval of their far-left base than about getting the approval of everyday Americans. Mr. President, it's day 14 of Democrat shutdown. Our economy is losing billions of dollars. Federal workers, including law enforcement officers, are going without pay. Critical government programs are in jeopardy. But hey, at least life is getting better every day for Senate Democrats. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of quorum.
That first quote, I mean, that's everything, isn't it? Every day gets better for us. Make no mistake, that was a confession. It's a complete mask-off moment that tells you everything you need to know about how these people view the country, how they view you. For them, public service is just a game. And the more pain they can inflict on normal people, on military families, for God's sake, the better their position gets. You just have to sit with the sheer arrogance of that for a second. It's this modern aristocratic mindset, this belief that they are entitled to cause chaos for their own political gain. The suffering of others is treated purely as the leverage they need. It's the entire point. They openly admit that things getting worse for the country means things are getting better for them. I mean, it's genuinely sickening when you stop to think about it. And then comes the gaslighting. The pathetic, predictable whining about how Republicans refuse to negotiate. It's honestly insulting to our intelligence. How can you demand a negotiation when the other side has already offered you a clean bill? No strings attached, no policy demands, just here, let's keep the government open. Offering a clean bill is simply an act of basic governance. The Republicans already came to the table and put a signed blank check in front of them, and the Democrats spat on it. We have to call this what it is, a hostage situation, plain and simple, created by one side making all the demands. It's such a transparently dishonest talking point, and they just repeat it over and over, hoping people are too busy to notice the details. They create the crisis, they make all the demands, and then they have the nerve to blame the GOP for not giving in to their extortion. It's a level of cynicism that, it's hard to even process sometimes. And the hypocrisy of it all. Oh, the hypocrisy. Because I seem to remember a time not too long ago when a government shutdown was the single greatest moral crime a politician could commit. It was an assault on democracy, a betrayal of the American people. They filled the airwaves with that sanctimonious nonsense for years. Turns out, all of that was just a performance. It was a complete and total lie. Their supposed principles were revealed to be convenient talking points used as a weapon. The second it became politically useful for them to shut things down, all that moral outrage just poof, vanished into thin air. It reveals the hollow, rotten core of their entire ideology. There is nothing they believe in other than the acquisition and use of power. Nothing. Their position on any given issue is completely fluid, entirely dependent on whether it helps them or hurts their opponent. You can't trust a single word they say because tomorrow they'll be arguing the exact opposite with a straight face if it suits them. It's proof that their word is completely worthless. They have no political compass other than what benefits the party at that exact moment. And that's the real takeaway here. The issue transcends policy disagreements. The core issue is that you have one side trying to govern and another side that sees causing national pain as a legitimate political tool. That they've exposed themselves as nothing more than political chameleons, happy to burn it all down if it means they get their way. They've completely abandoned any pretense of caring about the country's stability. It's a total betrayal of the public's trust. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Catch you next time.